running to local media stations for answers. Brian Smith-Meyer, the overnight photographer and editor with local news station KDKA, managed to snap some footage of the strange phenomenon, writing on Twitter that he saw a weird pillar of light. He also noted that it wasn't too long after he captured the recording that the station started getting calls about it, too. So, was it aliens? A troubled weather balloon? Swamp gas? Concerned citizens wanted answers. According to Smiley, the light show was just an optical illusion that resulted from light being refracted by suspended ice crystals in the atmosphere. He further explained that the source of the light was the sun's rays.
Sound right. Sounds like an engine dying or something. Weird.
All right, new this morning. What exactly is under investigation? Michael Cohen dropped a huge hint saying that federal prosecutors in New York are investigating other unspecified criminal activity involving the president.
Is there any other wrongdoing or illegal act that you are aware of regarding Donald Trump that we haven't yet discussed today?
Yes, and again, those are part of the investigation that's currently being looked at by the Southern District of New York.
Joining us now, Jennifer Rogers and Ellie Hunting, both former federal prosecutors. And Ellie, really? That's interesting.
I had the same reaction, John. I perked up when I heard that. And the way he was asked the question was very broad. Is there any other investigations into wrongdoing? Look, I think that's maybe the biggest takeaway for those trying to figure out what's going to come next. We know not only that the Southern District is engaged, we already knew that, but that Cohen continues to actively assist them. Another interesting and related thing that we learned that we had sort of theorized about, and Michael Cohen confirmed yesterday, is that he's trying to get further sentencing relief. We call it Rule 35. And what that says is that a prosecutor can go back to the judge after sentencing and say, this person has given us additional cooperation, and so we ask you to reduce his sentence further. It's somewhat rare. I probably did it 5-10 times in my career, but it does happen. And Michael Cohen said yesterday that's what he's going for. It kind of makes sense now when you look at him postponing his surrender date to prison. So, look, that's going to impact Michael Cohen's incentives. He is heavily incentivized to get that benefit and to be truthful.
But, Jennifer, back to the Southern District of New York. Didn't we know that there were ongoing investigations? Why was that a bombshell?
Well, it's not so much that that's a bombshell, but we did kind of think we knew what they were. So the notion that he's saying, oh, there's other stuff that I haven't even told you about.
That I can't talk about.
Big deal. That's right. What we didn't hear yesterday was about the Trump Organization investigations. I think that there's all sorts of looking into corporate malfeasance there, you know, tax fraud, bank fraud, accounting fraud. Personal issues with Donald Trump. Again, bank fraud, he brought those financial statements yesterday. Tax fraud, insurance fraud we heard about. So all of this is fair game. And then, of course, we also know that there are kind of corollary investigations in various states, D.C. and New York, which could be pardon-proof, which is a big deal, too.
Again, right. All of this is outside Mueller world to an extent. I mean, the SDNY investigation and all the state and city investigations, they go on even after the Mueller report comes out next week. Ellie, in another exchange, Michael Cohen was asked directly when the last time he spoke to either the president or people connected to the president or the White House was. And he said about 2 months after the raid on his home and hotel room, but he couldn't talk about that conversation because it might be connected to the various investigations. And that's the one that I find truly confounding. I can't figure out what that might be about.
Yeah, I was trying to work that one through. It could be that it's somehow related to what the Southern District's doing. It could be that it's somehow related to what Mueller's doing. It's a little unclear how they set the ground rules for this thing and who was responsible for policing it. My first reaction was that it must go to obstruction of justice somehow. I don't know why exactly that would be off limits. But if you look at the timing of that conversation, the context, the search warrant having just been done, and then the president sort of wants this conversation, that would be my best guess as to what that was about.
It was also interesting, Jennifer, to hear him talk about the Trump Foundation and that he was involved in doing sketchy things with charity money, which of course is illegal. So my question is, today he appears behind closed doors, House Intel Committee, and so can he reveal more to them because it's behind closed doors, or does he still not want to give up what he's helping with the SDNY?
Well, you know, prosecutors don't love it because Congress leaks like a sieve, right? So even when it's behind closed doors, you aren't sure that stuff won't get out. But he can. You know, I think he will be a little more free to talk because in theory it is closed and they shouldn't be disclosing details of an ongoing investigation. So I do think he will be able to be more forthcoming. I think he'll be able to answer the question about what was your last meeting about, what was discussed, you know, get into more details, things that he wouldn't talk about, and at least define the scope of what's going on. I mean, I think this committee is going to want to know, you know, you basically said there's other investigations that you wouldn't be willing to talk about. What are those? I think he will have to answer those questions.
Ellie, can Michael Cohen do interviews, or can he say anything in public now before May 6th? This was testimony, but there were a lot of questions that maybe with some more direct efforts yesterday could have revealed more information. Is there a second chance for someone to get those answers?
Yeah, legally, there's nothing preventing him from doing interviews, doing media. But again, having been a prosecutor, if someone is cooperating and trying to get an additional benefit, I think the first thing I would tell them is no more public statements, no more PR tour, no more media, no more Lanny Davis leading you around. If there's something that you want to talk about, you need to run it by us first. If it's an official proceeding like we saw yesterday, then go ahead. But no freelancing anymore.
All right, Ellie, Jennifer, thank you both very much. And thanks to our international viewers for watching. For you, CNN Talk is next. For our U.S. viewers, we have breaking news on the North Korea summit. New Day continues right now.
We thought it wasn't a good thing to be signing anything.
President Trump and Kim Jong-un wrapped up their second summit without any agreement.
I wish we could have gotten a little bit further, but I'm very optimistic.
I think he should get some credit for being willing to walk away here.
He lied a lot. Having a fake hearing like that in the middle of this very important summit is really a terrible thing.
Do you believe that the president committed a crime while in office?
It appears that he did.
How long did you work in the White House?
I never worked in the White House.
That's the point, isn't it, Mr. Cohen?
This is New Day with Allison Camerata and John Berman.
All right, good morning, everyone. We do have some breaking news. Welcome to your New Day. We begin with breaking news because a lot has happened overnight. Yeah. So if you are just waking up, President Trump is now on his way back to the U.S. early and empty-handed. After nuclear talks with Kim Jong-un ended abruptly with no agreement. The president and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo insist that real progress was made, but Mr. Trump says that talks broke down when North Korea insisted that all sanctions be lifted. President Trump says, quote, sometimes you just have to walk away, end quote, from the negotiating table, and he says that's exactly what he did.
Also overnight, for the first time, President Trump weighed in on Michael Cohen's testimony on Capitol Hill, those dramatic moments. The president called Michael Cohen a liar, and he blasted Democrats for holding the hearing at all while the president was meeting with the leader of North Korea. In hours of that dramatic testimony, Cohen described the president's role in illegal hush money payoffs to former adult film actress Stormy Daniels. I want to begin with CNN's Michelle Kaczynski, who's live in Vietnam with the details of how this all fell apart overnight. Michelle.
Hi, John. One day ago, it seemed like to have come out here and done all this, surely both sides were right at the point to walk away with something, right? The only question seemed, what's it going to be? Well, now we know the surprise ending to this very Trumpian cliffhanger is nothing. This is proof that President Trump's insistence on this top-down approach to this extremely complicated, decades-long problem is not going to necessarily work out the way he expects. They could not even agree on the very definition of denuclearization, couldn't even finish this summit and have lunch together. The president traveled 8,000 miles and comes away empty-handed. A Vietnam summit with Kim Jong-un quickly turned south, leaving the president with no distraction from Michael Cohen's damaging testimony.
They wanted the sanctions lifted in their entirety, and we couldn't do that. It was a very productive 2 days, but sometimes you have to walk.
I wish we could have gotten a little bit further, but I'm very optimistic.
There were good signs early. Kim Jong-un keeping denuclearization on the table.
If I'm not willing to do that, I won't be here right now.
But after many pleasantries on camera, talks in private did not lead to any breakthrough. A working lunch and signing ceremony that had been on the schedule never happened. An abrupt end to talks overnight, with the White House saying no agreement was reached at this time, but their respective teams look forward to meeting in the future. The president did make one stunning headline, letting Kim off the hook for the death of American hostage Otto Warmbier.
Those prisons are rough. They're rough places. He tells me that he didn't know about it, and I will take him at his word.
The summit itself largely overshadowed by testimony back home.
I know what Mr. Trump is. He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat.
Explosive allegations by Trump's longtime lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen. The president responding this morning, slamming the Democrats for holding the hearing while he was here at the summit.
But it was pretty shameful. He lied a lot, but it was very interesting because he didn't lie about one thing. He said no collusion with the Russian hoax.
Cohen's testimony upstaged any kind of progress the self-described deal maker hoped to gain.